Yo, what up, guys? What up? What up? It's Friday. Hopefully, y'all guys are doing good on this Friday day. Oh man, dude, my day's been going quick this morning. I was up last night, kind of late, finish up. So I got all my taxes and everything ready. Um, so my CPA does my taxes, but I'll do some. He has access to my QuickBooks account, so there was a handful of transactions that needed to be allocated properly to their right categories. And I don't know how I missed it, man. I really don't know how the hell I missed it. But either way, started going through them. Like, dude, it was like 20 grand worth of transactions, which these were actual expenses that needed to be allocated that weren't. So whenever I was looking at on my P&L, it was seeming at first like, all right, I made um, my net income, I mean, it's higher than previous year, but it's an additional 20 grand or so more than what I was initially expecting. Well, now I know why, because of damn transaction. Either way, man, I was up last night trying to get that resolved. Not just try to get those allocated, which I did. So that's a good thing. Or I got most of it. I need to finish it up today because hopefully, I think he's gonna be working on it over the weekend. Worst case, if we don't get done by Monday, normally what we did last year, just filed an extension, and then we could just get it submitted the following week or so, and it should be fine. Hold on. Before we start, I need to check my emails real quick. So let's see. So just doing some test. Gonna be doing some. Oops. Gonna be doing some testing over this integration project. Ultimately, we're sending invoices back and forwards. It's in a so it's gonna be sent using the SOAP protocol. So which is RESTful API, but the structure is SOAP. Um, it's fine. I'm not a big fan of SOAP, but it is what it is, right? Either way, their API endpoint, they're having issues. They gave it to me, but it was not open for me to access. What seemed like I think they resolved the issue. They got it open, so I need to do some testing to make sure that I could connect to that endpoint and be able to post. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm doing good. How about yourself? How's your what is it? Friday night, right? Saturday morning for you. So you already starting off your weekend. How's everything going with you? Any big plans this weekend? Man, my day just started off busy. Last night, so yesterday, I did some updates on our dev database, which is a Postgres database that we use for dev, and all the updates work fine. That got posted. Everything was good. So ultimately, last night we ended up doing the updates for our production Postgres database. Everything works fine. Like everything updated fine from the database. For some reason, though, we have this. So we have this HTTP application that we kind of built using Python and Flask. Ultimately, to as you call certain URLs, right? Get URLs. It executes certain processes and we built this for one of our clients, and that application connects to the production database. Well, something happened. Even though the database updated properly, we were getting a error connection from the web application to the database. And normally, the quick fix for that, anyways, would be to restart the web service, and then normally that should fix it, and it did fix it. It just, man, didn't, ultimately this morning started getting emails, hey, this, we're not getting orders in, this and that. And ultimately that's kind of what ended up happening. So I had to deal with that this morning. Yeah, big plans. Nice, man. What's your plans? You going out? Any movies? Hanging out with friends, family? What am I doing this weekend? I'm going out to dinner tomorrow with my sister and her husband, and me and my wife. We're actually going to go have sushi. So I love sushi. Like, I love it a lot. I could eat sushi all the time, like the raw sushi too, right? I'm not talking about the American sushi or whatever, but like the more authentic sushi. Like, I'm a big fan of that. My sister though, she never had sushi before. They want to try it. Same thing with her husband. They never had it. So I'm gonna be taking them this weekend to a sushi place. There's this place that we go to. I've been to a few places, and some places like it's okay, but you could tell it's like, the rice is a little bit on the drier side, or maybe the fish is just like, it's not the highest quality fish, but it's not like the cheapest fish either, like quality. But there's this place that we go called Sushi Axiom, and I don't. Again, prices are very reasonable, but everything seems very fresh too. I'm not gonna say they have the best fish, but man, the quality is pretty good. And then just everything, man, everything comes together. So I'm gonna be doing that this weekend. So I'm gonna be doing that. We're gonna go out, have dinner. I do have, I think, 2 YouTube videos that I need to record. So I'm gonna try to record that this weekend, and then I'm gonna be streaming tonight. So tonight I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch though. So yeah, I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch tonight, then ultimately dinner tomorrow, and probably do 2 YouTube videos, and then obviously hang out with family and stuff like that. Let's see. I suggest one of my clients to use Parquet files, and he is a non-coding background, and the client wants to see the Parquet data in the file. Yeah, so I think when you're dealing with Parquet files, because I have come across that as well with certain clients. Like, I had one client that they're not they're not technical. They don't have a software background or none of that. But when it comes to data, they understand the basics data sets, right? Like, they understand Excel, they understand CSV, text files, and they understand a little bit of like XML, right? Just a very little bit of that. And ultimately, they wanted to have a data set. Like, ultimately, we're pulling data from a database, from an external database, and we're going to drop it to an S3 bucket. Well, my plan was, hey, we're going to drop it as a Parquet, right? Parquet you get better performance on our Parquet file, especially when dealing with large data sets as well. But they didn't want that. They're like, no, what I want is, I want to be able to have one file, right? I don't want partition files, but I want one file, and I want it to be CSV as well. So like that, if anybody's ever interested, they could just go and download the raw file and take a look at it and open it up in Excel, right? As an example. But for me, that's like very backwards, because like, okay, well, the point is we want to pull this data from the database over to S3 bucket. If somebody really wants to look at the data, they could just query the external database, but let's just assume that's not an option. Okay, well, this raw data is going to be connected to a Redshift external table. So they could just query that if they really want to look at the data. You could easily connect that Redshift external table to like Power BI, Tableau, or even connect it to Excel, where it pulls into Excel and you could just like see it on your Excel tab without having to like again download the file, open it. I mean, there are different options. No, it's just easier that way. I was like, okay, but again, I think when you're not familiar, like when you're not as technical, I guess those are some of the challenges of trying to convince clients on why. Here's the thing: sometimes it comes down to the point where like, hey, they're very adamant and they're not going to change their mind. So like, you know what? That's what I want to do. Hey, we'll do it that way because it works. It's going to work. It just may not be ideal, but it does work at the end of the day. But sometimes you've got to kind of give in. So you will have fish weekend. Exactly, some sushi, some raw fish. I thought I could use Power Query to read Parquet. Well, so what I was saying from a Parquet standpoint was because the end goal, like in this example, the one I was mentioning, we were going to take data from external database. I think it was Oracle, if I remember correctly. Oracle external database that's on-prem. And then we're going to export that data out and drop it to an S3 bucket, but as a Parquet format, right? And then that bucket that we're dropping in the files into, that was going to be connected. We're going to build a table schema and all of that, but that was ultimately going to be connected to a Redshift external table. So now you have everything in Redshift. You could query, right? You could query the Parquet file. You could query actual Redshift tables as well, or any other data sets that you bring in, CSV, it doesn't matter, JSON, whatever it is. But ultimately, from the Redshift external table, from the Redshift side, you could connect Power BI as an example, or even Excel. Instead of trying to connect it to an S3 bucket and query the Parquet file, you could just connect it to the Redshift connection, and the Redshift ultimately would have that S3 bucket as an external table, which again is querying Parquet files, and then you'll be able to query your data that way. But it's a throwing error. I use that file in Power BI, but don't know why it doesn't work in Excel Power Query. So it does work for Power BI, what you're saying, but not for Power Query. Yeah, that I'm not sure. I have not. I used to use Power Query a lot, or at least a decent amount back in the day, but I really haven't used it as much. Probably been like 2 years or so that I really kind of, I may use it every once in a while, but I used to use it more often. Most of the stuff that I've been doing lately has been more in Power BI for sure. I use Python to create Parquets, and now I think I have to use it again to export to Excel. So you're gonna use it to create the Parquet, then export to Excel. I guess to feed what? Feed a Power Query. If you have all your data, I'm trying to think. Again, I have not dealt with Power Query in a while. Are you able to connect to an S3 bucket through Power Query or no? I think in Power BI you can connect it to a like an S3 bucket as a source, and like Azure storage and stuff like that. I'm trying to think if you could connect Power Query to that. Maybe not, but yeah, again, I haven't done it in a while, so I'm not sure. So let me see. One of the things I'm doing today is I'm going to be I'm going to be doing a test to see if it works for this in Power BI. I think I could share this. Let me see. I think I can. Let me share my screen. If for some reason, if I do come across something that I can't share, then yeah, I may need to remove it. I like change cameras. Yeah, Power BI, we can connect. Yeah, that's what I thought with Power BI. I'm just not sure when it comes to Power Query if you can. I mean, I know they've been doing some updates, and things have been getting better. But yeah, I don't recall, man. It's been a while for me since I used Power Query. Do you do a lot of work? Like, do a lot of your clients, I'm assuming, want reports and things of that nature in Excel still, or do you see a lot of them switching to like some sort of BI tool like Tableau, Power BI, things of that nature? I've been seeing like some of the clients I have worked with. It's been a slow change, but I've been seeing more and more, little bit by little bit, switching over Power BI. And then as they start to switch, I think they start getting used to it and liking it. So now, like, let's say if they're dealing with like dozens of different reports that used to be all Excel based, um, now it's starting to switch. Like, I work with some clients where all of their data was in Access, right? So their data was strictly Access, and they loved it. They're like, "Oh, Access is awesome because of it manages our data." But it's not awesome when a file gets corrupted and nobody backed up the file and all of that. That's where I have noticed when that happens, that's when things just like do that. They're like done. Like, they're like, I don't want this to happen no more. I don't want to deal with Access no more. Um, and then ultimately switch. I was able to switch them over from an Access database to, let's say, a SQL Server database that runs under my environment in AWS, so they don't even have to worry about servers or none of that stuff, right? Or a Postgres. Normally, the database I use for my clients, like the clients that I manage their data for, anyways, is Postgres and SQL Server. Those are the two. I do use Aurora, Amazon, but again, I'm using the Postgres engine, so same thing as Postgres. Just a quick question: can you push new data to Parquet without reading it? So you're talking about like add new Parquet files? Um, hmm. I don't know, man. Honestly, I have never tried it. Every time I run my process where we are rebuilding like new Parquet files, we are like deleting whatever was there and then rebuild it. I'm trying to think if instead of having to rebuild, right, like recreate all the Parquet file, that you could just add on to it. I haven't tried it, so I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Um, can you please share your ideas about any free cloud databases? So free cloud databases, I don't. Mm, so we say free. You mean like the service is free, like because Postgres is free, right? But ultimately, you have to host it somewhere because you need resources, and the hosting could be like AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean. The list goes on and on. I'm assuming if you mean by free, you mean somewhere that like some kind of provider, like let's say DigitalOcean or something, but that gives you like some kind of free tier, like database to use. I don't know if there is a free tier. Yeah, we need to see. I have used DigitalOcean. If the file was too large, or reading it, would it take more time? Won't it? You mean like to read a file? Like if you have like a data lake and you have like, let's say, Parquet file or a CSV file that's very large. Are you asking would it take a long time if you were to query that file compared to like a traditional database table? Any application we could deploy a web application. So like Heroku's not free no more. They used to be free. What is the other one, man? I actually just saw this the other day. I know the name too. I'm trying to think of it. Free. Um, Obviously, Amazon gives you like a year of like their entry tier level hosting, which is like I want to say like 512 megabytes and like what else? Like their one vCPU core, like just the bare minimum. Um, so let's see. I'm looking at so one option would be to use um, Google's BigQuery. So they have a plan that's free. So you get like free X amount, like 1 gig of storage. So not a lot of storage, but you get a gig still. So as long as your data under a gig. If you're trying to deal with more with a traditional database, let's see. Hold on. Okay. Um, I mean, if I need to push new data to the Parquet file, reading it again, and the appending new data, and then again saving it, it doesn't sound like many steps and time. What if we could simply push the new data to file without reading the whole file? So I know I'm trying to think with Parquet if that's doable because I know the way Parquet, it's not like a traditional text file, right? So I'm not 100% sure. I know for a fact though, if you were to do CSV as an example, or even JSON or XML, but I just say CSV as an example. Let's say if you push, because we actually do this today, but we do this and I do this for one of my clients, and we do it in Azure, where we get data from this external system and we pull data monthly, right? So data coming in monthly, but we have data for the last 2-3 years for that data set. But again, we're not pulling data like the whole data set and redropping it in the process. What we do in this case, we drop new CSV files as new data comes in, right? So that's number one. And number two, we end up when we do rebuild our process at the end to partition these files, we're only partitioning the new data set. So that means, let's say we have one file for every month for the last 2 years. So that's 24 files. Well, we have an export process, and that's where the data goes into for our external table to query the data. All of those 24 months that have been processed already, there's partition files in there. It's not 24 files. It's more. It's like 100 files as an example, right? Because it's all partitioned up. Well, we need new files that come in. Those new files will get processed. Let's say we get one file, right? For the next month, we get one new file that contains, let's say, 1,000,000 rows for that month. Well, when the process that one file, it'll generate maybe 100 100 CSV files as an example, and then it will just drop those 100 files, which is for that month only, into this other folder. And that once it drops it in, then becomes queryable. You could query that data. So instead of rebuilding all your data sets, we're only processing the new data, and then we're dropping in the partition files of that new data into the folder. Now, in this case, we are doing it in CSV. We're not doing it in Parquet, and that's where I'm not 100% sure if that works with Parquet or not. I know it works in this case for CSV, but I'm not sure about Parquet. We could simply push the new data to file without reading the whole file. Yeah, and again, I know in this example that I just mentioned, I'm actually doing that today for one of my clients. We're doing that today, and it works. So like I have tested it out. I know for a fact that it works. Performance, we get pretty decent performance. And again, when you're Parquet, it's better performance than CSV. But because we are partitioning the files to smaller chunks, I think that's one of the reasons why our performance is actually pretty reasonable still in CSV. Um, Again, it would be better. Obviously, would have doing a Parquet, but it's reasonable where it's not slow at all. Like, we're not wait when we query the data as example. It's not like we're waiting seconds and seconds to get data back. It literally takes about a second or two we get data back for the amount of data that we have. And ultimately that helps out by having many partition files, right? That kind of does help out in the querying process. But kind of going back to your question about any free resources, again, Amazon does have a free tier, which is like their very entry level tier. But again, I think that's only free for 1 year. I don't think it's free forever. I think it's free for 1 year only, which is like 512. Well, you know what? That's for EC2 instance. For databases, I think they do have a free tier as well for database. Let me see. I'm looking into it real quick. I don't think I use DigitalOcean as well for like VPN and some other stuff. I know they have some stuff as well related to databases that you could spin up database instances as well. But yeah, I don't know they have one for databases. Now, I think one option is they do have, so this is not an RDS, this is a what is it called? So there is an Amazon Aurora serverless database, right? So the Amazon Aurora, you could pick the engine, MySQL, Postgres. So they do have a serverless version, which ultimately means you're still paying. It's not free, but ultimately you're paying only for when it gets used, right? So obviously, if you're only using the database to query, right? Like once at night for a nightly job or something like that. Something like that may come in handy. So you're not paying for the resources of staying on 24/7. You only pay for when it runs. And that's for databases, right? I guess I think you did mention about applications like web apps. If that's the case, then Amazon, there's the EC2 instance, which again very basic, minimal size, but it'll get the job done. Like I used it before, and it works well for like small applications. Obviously, it doesn't work well because I use it for one of my production applications, and I had to up my resources over time for sure because that's what we had a lot of activity going on in the database, a lot of get requests, and just a lot going on. So ultimately, had to move up. But for basic jobs or basic processing, it'll work. And that will be an EC2 instance with 512 megabytes, one vCPU, and what else? And then storage, I think it will be like maybe 10 gigs of storage, I believe. And yeah, all of that should be under the free tier, which you get free for a year. Cool. Can you schedule my Python script on any cloud platform for free? So there is. So you're talking about Python script. So there's a damn it, what is it called? I'm trying to think of it now. Python Anywhere. Let me see. Let me share my screen. I'm trying to think if they have a free plan or not. I thought they did, but maybe they don't no more. Oh, they do have one. There it goes. So if you go to Python Anywhere, you could get so you have a limited account with one web app. You don't. So the web app, you don't get to pick your URL. You got to use their domain, right? Obviously, then it will be your project or your name. Let's say restricted outbound internet access from your apps. So this would be something that's kind of that would be isolated and that would run. It works great. So this is part of their beginner package. I actually used this for one project that I was testing out, and it worked pretty fine because I think I used it. It was a Django web application, and I needed to spin it up ASAP because I had some contractors that were going to help out on a project, and they needed access to the application up and running because they were going to do some UI tests, so unit testing, and do some documentation on the application and so forth. So what I did in that case, I spin up one of their instances, and it was very easy. You literally just drop your code in, and I think there was like very small configuration, like literally just change one or two things, and boom, it was good, man. It was able to connect. They were able to connect. It worked. So deployment, I would say this, using the Python Anywhere is, if you're dealing with Python type code, right, whether it be Django, Flask, or just Python in general, right, then it's ideally more designed for like web applications, ultimately like a Django or Flask type applications. But I believe you should be able to deploy even just normal Python scripts, right? And then have some sort of cron's job running because it does run on Linux if that's what you're going after. Or if you do have code that you want to run, you could have a package in a Flask application, and then ultimately the URL, as you call that URL like a GET request, it will run your Python code. So you could easily have some sort of tool like call that URL every once a day or whatever it is, right, to do whatever. But this is one option. You could look into this, see if that helps or not. I saw there are many services in Azure which are free forever. And that's the real case. So a lot of services that you find that are free, again, like Amazon does offer some free services. Even like this one here, right? Python Anywhere offers some free services. The way they get you want to call it, right? I don't want to say they get you, but the way they kind of get you in, it works for maybe small projects, but ultimately as you start scaling something up, it's not going to work. If it's like, let's say you have a web app and maybe you only have like 5 people using it, right, at a time. All right, cool. It could handle that, no problem. But now your web app has 1,000 people using it in a given time. Well, these free tier versions aren't going to work no more. That's where you're forced to. You gotta get a paid version, right? You need more resources and so forth. Or maybe you want to, spin up another web app instead of one. You want 2. Well, that's where you gotta create another account or set up, get a different plan or whatever it may be. But I mean, they do. It just a lot of the time the resources are small, and it just depends on your use case, right? As well, because again, it'll work to some degree. And it just again, I have used the free tier versions and it worked. There were some projects I needed to do something very minimal and it worked perfectly fine. Other projects, as I started doing more, it didn't work. I mean, I needed more resources, so I had to upgrade. And which I did, just because I had no choice. I was forced to because of the lack of resources that you get from the free tier version, but which is fine. But yeah, man, you could look into this. I don't know if DigitalOcean, again, I don't think they offer any free tier versions, but so, and for them it's called droplets, right? So they do they do have one. There it goes, 0 a month starting price. Build, deploy, and scale apps quickly. All right, so they do have so they have functions as well. So I'm assuming, see how they have a little asterisk? That may be because you get so many calls, and then after that, they charge you, right? You get paid. They charge you for whatever. So let's take a look at this one real quick. Any platform. It's kind of curious. Starter, build, static site, deploy from GitHub, bring custom domain, unlimited team members. So what do you get? Oops, I'm clicking on the wrong plan. Or does it tell me? Doesn't tell me what the resources are. Can you provide an example of how app platform pricing works? An app is typically made up of one or more components: static assets, dynamic components like web service, container deploy, blah, blah, blah. You can build and deploy 3 static sites for free in the starter package. If your app is dynamic, has components like web services, background workers, and databases, then you should use the basic package. Okay. So it's really not free. I think this starter package is more likely just some sort of like S3 bucket type environment. You drop in your static files, and then ultimately you could point an configure it to where the domain, the URL is pointing to that folder to grab all the assets. So that's all this is. So yeah, it's really not free. I mean, the paid version will be $5 in that case. They do have functions. Database is obviously not free. Function, I'm assuming it's based on the amount of calls you get. That's how they built, would be my guess. So the one that but there is one, man. I just can't think of the name. I actually saw it on social media the other day. Somebody was talking about it. It's supposed to be something similar to Heroku, because Heroku was like the one back, for a while that was free and was letting everybody deploy your apps through it because they provided you with a free version. But they don't do that no more. Ever since I believe Oracle bought them out, right? I believe some like maybe 2-3 years back or something. They don't offer it for free anymore. Thank you so much. Ah, man, no problem. Again, hopefully, I mean, you got some options, obviously, that you could probably find some stuff at a cheap rate if that's what you're looking for. Again, I know Amazon does have, if you don't have an account today yet, you can at least try that. Pretty sure Azure has a free tier version as well. I haven't looked into the Azure one. I mean, I use Azure, but I don't use it that well like that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they have a free version tier option as well. That you can use, especially if you're using it for testing, right? Just for internal purposes. So what I'm gonna do here is ultimately I'm gonna be doing some testing related to where I'm pulling data. I'm gonna be pulling a file from SharePoint, but I need to get the actual file, the file object, not properties, but the actual object itself. So this would be not get file properties. I need to get the actual file, the object. Where would this be? There it goes. Get file context. So let me go ahead and connect to the SharePoint. And we do have a specific file in here. Oops. Which is outbound. There it goes. This is the file. All right, so now that I have this file, trying to think now. So, I know I did some testing over this. Okay, there it goes. I did do testing over this. This is the form of the body. Let me see. All right, so man, what time is it? Man, it's already 1:30. Man, this whole morning has went by so quick. Yeah, man, I was up to like 5 in the morning last night trying to get my QuickBooks transaction in order for the purpose of taxes. So my CPA is gonna start doing my taxes, I believe, over the weekend. I don't think we're gonna have it done. We may not have it done, so it's not a big issue. Last year, same thing happened. We just do file for extension, and normally what happens is you got to pay a small interest. It wasn't nothing crazy by all means. Um, so I'm expecting the same deal this year. File an extension. So probably just file, but this time instead of waiting until October to file taxes, probably just do it a few weeks after or a week or two right after. And then, yeah, so the interest should be very minimal for sure. I hate doing taxes, man. Here's the thing, I don't even do it technically no more. Not like the way I used to. I used to do my own taxes. And I can tell you right now, I was paying crazy amount of taxes, man. Like I remember the first year I did taxes for my business, which was like the first 2 years of my business, I didn't make as much. So taxes were like very minimal. Or I mean I wasn't really, it wasn't a lot because at my business I didn't make. I had a lot of expenses as well. Um compared to my revenue. So ultimately it was like almost break even, you want to call it, right? But the last 2 years after, this is the first 2 years wasn't well, and then the 2 years after that, which would have been year 3 and 4, that's where things were looking way better. And yeah, man, I remember, dude, I paid like, I don't know, man. It was like 20, 25,000 plus, maybe even more on taxes. That's what I had to pay, not even counting, my wife works, so ultimately they take out, she had to pay taxes out of her check that they take out all the time. And she have it where they take out like the highest amount possible too. But either way, with all of that, dude, we had to pay a decent amount. So finally, for year number 5, I got a CPA. We end up doing some changes, file S corporation for LLC. There was a lot of things that he helped out, right, for to do. Dude, taxes dropped drastically, man. Like literally went from like 25,000 plus to 5, 6,000. Dude, like it's crazy how much it dropped. Dude, like 75, 80% drop. So I mean, ultimately, I am paying for it. I got to pay the CPA, but I'd rather pay him $3,000, $4,000 as an example than pay an additional $15,000, $20,000 in taxes, right? So it's a win-win. Again, I'm not CPA. I'm not a no financial person. I'm not trying to give you that kind of advice. I'm only sharing with you what I learned or through my own experience, man. So that's all I can do in my case. Is kind of sharing what I have learned. And yes, so for the one that are saying, Well, but you should pay taxes, especially if you could afford to pay taxes. I know. I don't want to pay taxes, dude. I already pay taxes for everything. I mean, I do pay. We are paying taxes. I do pay taxes. So no, I'm gonna find every legal method that I can to pay as little taxes as I can. Let's see. So for my body, let's see. What do I need to put here? Let's take a look at it. So let's look at my header first. For my header, oops, this is not right. I'm looking at the wrong deal. All right, here goes. So for my header, I'm not gonna put it in yet, but I'm gonna put in my access token, but I'll do that later. So for now, what I'm gonna end up doing, I'm gonna put a few things like the host. Right now, I'm testing under the dev environment, so it would be, what is it? There's my host. So my host would be dev go share it.io. User agent would be power automate. Let's do access encoding gzip deflate and br. What else? Content type. Content type would be multi-part form data. What else? All right, I'll put in my access token in a minute. I'll do that last. This would be a post. Then ultimately the URL for this. Again, this is all test environment anyway. It's not production. That would be the URL that is going to get posted to. And I think the only thing I need now is just the body and the authorization, but the body as well. So let's see. I mean, technically, I do want to add this, the file content, but let me see. Can I expand this out? So let's do file, upload, and then in this case, it would be file content. So technically, I think I could do this and it would work, right? So let me, I'm trying to think. Yeah, let me stop sharing. Oh, damn, my camera. There it goes. Damn, I just realized my camera turned off on me. Dude, all this time, my camera has probably been off. Damn it. See, that's the issue, man, with this camera. I need to just get a normal, I need to get a camera, man. I don't know, maybe I could find a used one somewhere. I don't need to buy a new, like a Sony or a Canon. Sony, what is it? A650 6500 or something. All right, let me go ahead and put in my access key real quick. All right, now that I have that, I have it where it's pulling data. Let me delete this. And then let me delete this step. So I have get file content. Oh, the trigger. What's the trigger on? The trigger would be on when an item is created, when an item is modified. There it goes. Item is modified. So pretty much when this file gets modified. Oh, this is a list. Damn it. That's not what I was looking for. So let's look for SharePoint triggers when the item, no, when a file is created in a folder. Triggers for a selected file. When a file when a file is created, or modified. There it goes. That's what I was looking for. It doesn't show any files. What the? Oh, folder. My bad. I was looking for the folder. All right, so that should be fine. So when that's modified, get file contents, call the API to upload the file. That's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to email this out. And for now, I'm going to email it to myself. Test 180 report, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what I need to see here is are you kidding me? Oh, there goes the body. Let me see what I get. Let me just test this out. I'm going to hit save. Let's see if it saves. Damn it, it's not saving. Why is it not saving? Enter a valid email. Dude, I did put in a valid email. All right, put in a valid email. What else? Oh, damn it. Why do they want a BCC for? What the hell? I don't know. That's odd. All right, that's strange. Let's see if it's saved at least. Enter SharePoint site address, blah, 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 name. Got it. Okay. So let me collapse everything real quick. Let's see if this works. So let's test this out. Oh, it's disabled, so I need to enable it then. Let me change the name to this too. This would be test. All right, let me save this. And let me turn on. All right, is it on? All right, so now let me go to edit. And let's do a test. All right, so let's see if this runs. Ugh. Dude, is it going or not? What the hell is happening? I'm gonna log into the platform to see if I could see new files. Dude, that's taking a long time. I don't know if it's trying to start. So it's already on. At least I thought I was doing a test. Let me go back to edit. Dude, it did not. Seemed like it didn't work. So I'm trying to think, is it, I don't know. Let me go. Unless it wants me to make a modification to it, and when there's a change, that'll trigger it. Let's see if there's, yep, allowed me to make some, to, all right. So now I could close out of this. All right, so I did make a change. So I either, now since it's been modified, I'm not sure that's going to trigger it. All right, there it goes. So I think it did trigger it. Detailed authentication credentials were not provided. Interesting, because I swear I thought I did. So let me check. so let's see. Can I see what got posted? Show raw output. Denied. Show raw input. Let's see, what is it showing? The URL for a header has host, user agent, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I don't see it on. What the hell? Why is it not on here? It's part of the query, not the header. What the hell? Okay. So maybe that's what happened. All right, let me go back. Let me edit. Dude, I swear I put that in right. Oh, I didn't. I put it in the query section. Damn it. What the hell am I doing here? There we go. I had it in the wrong spot. That's why. All right, so now let's try it again. So again, guys, what I'm doing is anytime there are changes to an Excel file that's on SharePoint, it's going to trigger. As it triggers, it's going to send over, it's going to upload this file to the Go Share It platform. That's the app that we build internally. So you could go ahead and use it. Go to goshareit.io. That's the website. Create an account. Ultimately, it's like a WeTransfer Dropbox. You could share files, but we got an API configured, so we're able to upload it. Let me make a change to the Excel file. Ultimately, that's what's happening right now. It's waiting for a change to occur. So now that I made changes and it's saved, it should trigger. And then once it triggers, it's going to take that file, upload it, post it to the API, and return. It should give me back a response. Nope, still error message. Okay, so this time it's something else. Multi-part form, parse error, invalid, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this is some other issue going on. At least the authentication piece is working fine. Where's my postman? Let's see. There you go, show raw. So I got my header information. I got my form data. File name. Let me see if it relates to that. So let me look at my what's being posted out there. So let me take a look at my HTTP. Damn, I need to look into this. All right, made some progress though. But yeah, I need to look into it, see what's going on. Damn it. Where? Okay, there it goes. This is what I was looking at. Hmm. Hey, yo, what up, Python? What's up, man? How's everything been going with you? Hopefully everything been going good with you, man. I actually been good and busy, extremely busy, to be honest with you. So one of the things I started doing is started this week, been streaming throughout the day while I'm working. So right now I'm working on there's a few things, but what I'm working at the moment is this Power Automate job. Ultimately, anytime there's changes to the SharePoint file, it'll take that file and then it'll send it over to this the Go Share It application and upload the file to the API. In response, API should give back a JSON response with a download link, passcode, all those added information, and then that could be added to the body of the email for the users to download the file. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now, doing some testing on. Didn't know your timing change. For now, I've been just doing it in the daytime. So for pretty much for the remaining of this month, month of April, I'm gonna be streaming every day, Monday through Friday in the middle of the day while I'm working. So ultimately, I'm just kind of sharing some of the stuff that I'm working on. Some things I can show as I work. Some things I can't just because of I'm working on data sensitive information, like client specific. So not trying to broadcast all of that. But nevertheless, the stuff that I can share, ultimately I'll share while I'm working, kind of give people insight on some projects that I'm working on, and try to answer a few questions as well as I can. But mainly though, again, I'm working, but just kind of streaming as I work and kind of sharing, giving people insight on some of the projects that I'm working on as well. But right now, I'm trying to configure the API, this Power Automate job where it posts to the API to the Go Share It. So that's the Go Share It app is the app that I built. And I added some features for API capabilities to upload files to the API. So that's kind of what I'm trying to test out now, but have it working with Power Automate. What time is it? It's already about to be 2. Normally I'll stream about an hour. Around that time. So yeah, man, going forward every day, man, Monday through Friday, around the 1 o'clock time frame, 12:30, 1 o'clock for about an hour. I'll be streaming every day for the month of April. If things go well with the stream and so forth, then I may keep it up longer. But I think for now, at least for the month of April, I'm going to be streaming every day. Let's see. Yeah, so I need to see for my Power Automate job. I know I'm getting an error, and I think I may know what it is, but I need to test it out. So I need to see how that's going to work. Also, what I need to see too is even after I do get a response back, I need to parse that data. So let me see if there's a way to be able to parse that information. Let me see, JSON. There it goes, parse JSON. Perfect, that's exactly what I needed. Parse JSON. So in this case, the contents will be the body of the email, whatever I get. And then I do have, I think, a sample data set sample I could provide. Oops. All right, there go the generated schema. Perfect. And then from here, I would be able to, it won't be the body, it will be this. Perfect. It's exactly what I needed. Download the URL. And then, what else? Depending on what it is, I'm thinking in this case we're going to have passcode. Damn, where is that at? I don't see it. Don't we have that on here? Or do I not have it on here? Oh, damn it, I don't see it. Damn it, I don't see it. Okay, so I may need to make some changes to that. Why didn't it not pick it up? There you go, it's under here. So it didn't. Need some career advice. I was working with a contractor my company hired for a project. Now the contractor is leaving company, but he worked on project for a long time, but no documentation maintained. My manager says take ownership, but the contractor is no mood to answer our queries, and there are 150 plus Lambda functions. Whew, damn, kind of impossible to study without knowledge transfer. But now the contractor leaving. What must I do? So I think you're in a situation where it kind of sucks, right? Those are some of the challenges, especially when you have a contractor, because the contractor, you know, they're not going to be there forever. So, I mean, from a management standpoint, it was probably just bad execution. And anytime you hire a contractor, because you know they're temporary, you know they're going to only work for 6 months, a year, whatever the time frame is, and then they're gone. There should have been a process up front to make them document as they worked everything, right? Even if it's something basic, but at least some kind of basic documentation to know, all right, this function is for this. And if there's, especially if there's like, complex logic, try to at least describe what's happening and kind of, things of that nature. That being said, it seems like there's the damage is done, right? Damage is done from a sense of, he's gone or he's about to leave, one of those two, right? Either he's gone already or he's about, let's just assume he's gone already. So that means you can't get no more knowledge from him. You can't call him up, you can't email him, he's not going to give you nothing. But you have 150 plus functions that now you need to be familiar with. The hope, that's my hope in a way, is that these 150 Lambda functions are working properly at the minimum. Right? It's not like you got to go in and tweak and make changes to all of these all the time. If at least if they're working for now, right? Assuming that nothing's broken, everything's working, dude, it's going to be a learning process. Like it's really going to come down to probably identifying the more urgent ones, going through and just studying each one. Probably even putting some documentation at the minimum, like basic documentation at least. Putting something together to understand what each function is. So as things do break in the future or things change, you know which function has that require that change. But I don't think there's much you could do. I've been in a situation like that before where somebody left and they didn't want to leave. Like in this case, they were an actual FTE, but they were getting let go. But they got told in advance, and they were like, "Hey, you gotta, before you leave, share your knowledge, right? With the remainder of the team." And obviously, they didn't share nothing. They're like, "Dude, I'm not even gonna come to work," type. That was their mindset. Either way, we had to figure it out, and it was tough for the first like 2 months, I will say, because he has been there for many years. So there's a lot of things to kind of understand what he was doing. even daily stuff, right? That require his input to make sure things were running smoothly. That was the challenging part because that stuff had to be like there was stuff he was doing that was kind of manually done, but that he was doing on a weekly basis as an example. Um, man, I think that's all you can do, man. Like if that's the case, hope, right? Hope that nothing breaks in the next couple of weeks. But you're gonna have to spend time every week or maybe every day, but at least every week, reviewing. Maybe try to identify the more like I want to say critical functions that you feel will if you know in ways that may be more critical, get familiar with those. So if something does break, something does happen, at least you're familiar with it. You could go in and try to fix it if possible. But yeah, man, it's gonna just be a learning curve. I don't know if it's just you or you have somebody else on your team, but if you do have somebody else on your team that could help, obviously that's a plus. But if it's strictly you, that's really your only option, man. Try to identify the more urgent ones if possible. Try to spend some time to get familiar with it. Um, you know, things that you may see that are not designed properly, probably implement. Like for example, if variables are being hard coded into the function, but there's a chance that these variables should change or may change in the future. Maybe go ahead and take them out and put them as environment variables in the configuration of Lambda. So now in the future, if you know that, hey, this specific token is going to expire, 6 months from now or something, right? You could just change it in the environment variable and it'll pass on through without having to try to figure it out or find it or go into the code base. And since they are in management, they don't know much about tech and they feel KT is done, but in reality, it hasn't. How must I explain? When you have managers that are like non-technical managers, right? That didn't come up the ranks, like they weren't software developers, they're just managers because they went to school and they just became project managers and now they're managers as an example or whatever. Dude, that's tough because it's in their mind, they're probably gonna look at it. Oh, everything's fine, everything works. So if everything's done, everything works. We don't need to do nothing. That's where you're gonna try to convince them, or try to show them an example if you can, man. Like something breaking, a bad design that whoever created it, maybe that wasn't designed properly. Um, Maybe logic that's over complicated, that they just kind of made it too complicated, which means when it comes time to fixing in the future, if needed or updating, it's gonna be complicated, right? And by complication, I mean it could be from a sense of variables that are not are not named properly, so it's very hard to even determine what the hell they're doing. What is this function doing? Because the variables are not even named properly. I mean, I already have my existing project lined up, and now this new project, but uh, not Kate. What must I propose to my manager? We need additional developers. I mean, for sure, I will put that out there, right? If you had a contractor to begin with, and that was helping, right, and now that contractor is gone, technically, I mean that alone kind of notates like, hey, we're losing a person, right? We had a person, we're losing a person now because they're gone, right? So that's where it could easily try to convince them from that aspect of it, like, dude, we're down a person. We had a person, especially if they're leaving on their own will, not because the company is letting them go, but they're leaving because they just found another job or something. Like, there's a reason why we have the contractor, right? We hired this contractor for a reason, and they're providing, they're helping on these projects. Now that they're gone, we're going to be short staff. We're going to be, we're short on developers. So yeah, I mean, I will put that out there for sure. Are we going to get a new developer? Because we do need one. A lot of the code base that was built, that this developer that leaving build needs to be understood because there is no documentation. And now, if you're going to be working on projects that you're working on now, um, and having to try to understand what was done or document what was done, it becomes too much, right? That's because you have to explain, like, the projects that I'm working on, a lot of my time, or majority of my time, is going to go for that. The projects that the person that left is working on was not documented well, which means nobody knows what's going on. And if something happens, we need to know what's going on in these functions to some degree, so things don't just hit the wall and are a standstill if something breaks. Because that's the last thing you want, something to break and it can't be fixed right away. And it just takes way too long to fix because nobody knows what the hell it's that function even does. They're just a lot. I mean, yeah, you gotta try to explain to them. Hopefully, they can understand. The manager says they don't like working with contractor because of his work attitude. So you said that the manager doesn't like working with contractors in general, or just that one contractor? I guess that's why they let him go. And here's dude, that's fine, right? If they let him go because not because he the work is not there, but they let him go more so because they just don't like that contractor. Okay, you could let him go, right? That's a legitimate reason, especially if he does have a bad attitude. But it doesn't mean you don't hire another contractor, right? Go get another contractor, bring in another contractor, help. Even if it's dude part something, right? I mean, there's people out there who want jobs, so I don't see that being an issue of hiring a contractor. Now, obviously, maybe you may find some contractors that are what's the word? You may find contractors that may not have the best attitude by all means, but that's where you got to try to funnel those out and see what happens, right? Try to find one with a good attitude at minimum, right? I mean, here's my views, man. For me, my experience is I would rather work with somebody that's okay to good. Like, they don't have to be a senior developer. They don't have to be a unicorn. None of that. They could just be a nice, decent, okay developer that has a real good attitude, though. They're team friendly. They could work with others. They're not always pissed off. They're not always in a bad attitude. They're always in a good attitude. They always think more positive, positive cup half full mindset, even though their skill set may be average or just okay compared to somebody who's like a unicorn but has a terrible attitude. Like, I don't want to work with that guy, man. The one contractor also is not easy. Uh, it uses Lambda, SML, code comments for deployment. Hold on, we have a client. All right, guys, my bad. Had one of my clients call me real quick. There was some issue they wanted to go over, so just kind of going over to see what happened with this failed invoice integration. Um, all right, damn, what time is it? It's already 2. All right, man. So I've been on for about an hour and a half. So again, guys, I'm gonna be on every day, man. Every day, Monday for the month of April, around the same time for at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So if you have any questions, man, I'll be more than happy to try to help out. With any kind of anything I can help out with, man. You know, again, I'm going to be sharing more and more stuff of things that I'm working on. So as I do share some things that I'm working on, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm going to try to show some of the stuff I'm working on, but again, I am limited because I am working on stuff that I cannot always share, right? Code bases and data, things of that nature. But whatever I can, I'm going to share with y'all guys. So like that, give y'all more insight to some of the work that I'm working on. Um, Lambda, blah blah blah. A coder comment tutorial, please. Okay, man. I'll put some stuff together for that, man. And so what you were saying before was the contractor. He used all of these services pretty much, right? For deployment, I have not used these technologies. Gotcha. So it sounds like the contractor problem. I mean, it sounds like he kind of knew what he was doing, so he used all of these services interchangeably to kind of again make code changes, deploy over to Lambda functions, do all kinds of things of that nature. And that's kind of where now that you got to take on and review this, especially if it's something that you haven't done or learned before, yeah, it makes it a lot tougher for sure. So I'll put something together, man. I'll work on some things and we'll kind of start piecing things together on how to use um, the code comments and Lambda, like a lot of these services together, how they're interchanged and how the flow. Like if you're making changes or deploying new Lambdas, that's where your code formation comes in place. Making code changes, comments, Lambda, all that stuff. So I'll put something together, man. We'll start um, you know, I'll start sharing some stuff, some knowledge over that. Again, guys, man, appreciate it. I'll be on every day, Monday through Friday for the month of April. And if things work out well, I'll do more live streams throughout the day going forward. Y'all take care. Have a good weekend. Peace.